It's time for another teamwork build. But this one's going to be slightly different. With this build, we are not focusing on combat. This is a more roleplay focused build. This build is designed to sneak in, gather information, and then sneak out. So if you're here for a combat focused build, click off this video now. So obviously we're building a rogue here, but we're not building James Bond here, so we're not going to go scoundrel. We are going to need some charisma for this build, but we want to focus on dex, so we're going to go with the thief racket. For our ancestry, we're going with catfolk. And for our heritage, we're going to go with changeling. There's no catfolk heritage that gives us dark vision, and dark vision is pretty much needed for all rogues. Especially us, since we want to sneak around so much. And catfolk have a ton of feats that are going to help this build. Then of course, we've got our background. We're going to pick up the gambler background. Lying me will help us in social situations when the enemy is lying to us. And sometimes we will have to talk our way out of situations when sneaking doesn't work. Starting stats for this build should be Strength 10, Dexterity 18, Constitution 10, Intelligence 12, Wisdom 12, and Charisma 16. Alright, for our first class feat at level 1, we're going to take Trap Finder. This will give us a +1 bonus on Perception to find traps, to AC against attacks made by traps, and to saving throws against traps. Also, we can find traps even if we aren't searching. Also, we can disable traps that require master proficiency in thievery. If we're already a master in thievery, we can disable traps that require legendary proficiency in thievery instead, and the circumstance bonus against traps increases to +2. I know traps aren't very common, but the last thing we want is to blunder into a trap and let everybody know we're there. And then of course we've got our ancestry feats at first level. We're going to pick up Calomay. This will give us the Charming Liar skill feat. So if we critically succeed on a deception check to lie, the target's attitude towards us increases by 1 step, as if we had used diplomacy to make an impression. But we have to be lying in order to impart seemingly important information, ingratiate ourselves, or inflate our status. Again, this is so that we can talk our way out of situations where we can't really sneak. For level 2, we are going to need some combat abilities for this build, so we're going to take Unbalancing Blow. Whenever we crit and deal damage, that foe is flat-footed against our attacks until the end of our next turn. This is just to help us get that sneak attack for when we do need to fight. Then on the free archetype side, we'll take the Alter Ego dedication from the Dark Archive. This will make us an expert in deception. In addition, we gain the Assume a Role activity. To use this activity, you must have spent 1 hour studying a creature whose role you wish to assume, and you must have done so within the last 3 days. You must also have a visual source of information. Examples include tailing and spying on someone, or learning from someone who can fulfill that role. You perform the Impersonate activity to assume that role. You also gain a +1 circumstance bonus to deception checks you make in that role. This takes the normal amount of time it takes to impersonate someone. You also choose 1 lore skill associated with the role you're impersonating. You gain a +1 bonus to that lore check, and if you're untrained, you treat your level as your proficiency bonus. You stop assuming the role after 24 hours if you assume another role or you choose to stop it. Because come on, any spy would be able to impersonate someone to get into a location. At level 3, general feats. And we'll just pick up toughness for more hit points. Pretty basic. At level 4, 2 more class feats. We're going to start with Dread Striker. We're going to have high charisma, so we might as well get flat-footed whenever we intimidate foes. Plus if our allies happen to frighten a foe, then we get our sneak attack. So, yay. Then we'll take the Fake It Till You Make It feat. When we assume a role, we get to choose 2 skills that are associated with that role. If we're untrained, we can use our level as our proficiency bonus. We also gain a +1 circumstance bonus to those skills as long as we are in that role. You and your GM should work together to choose these skills. We are a rogue, so we're going to have a lot of skills. However, we're not an intelligence rogue, so we can't be trained in everything at level 1. So we need to be able to use certain skills that are associated with the role we're assuming. And we might not be trained in those, so this will help. Plus, even if we are trained, a +1 is only going to help. We will also want to take the Change of Face archetype skill feat here. When impersonating, we don't need a disguise kit. Instead, simple illusions and transmutations provide the supplies that a disguise kit would. So we no longer need a disguise kit to impersonate people. At 5th, we get our ability score increases as well as an ancestry feat. For our ability score increases, we want to increase our Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. We need to be dexterous and charismatic, but we also need to be smart, because we'll need to be able to figure out codes sometimes. For our ancestry feat this level, we'll take Pride Hunter. So we can now use lesser cover from our allies to hide. This will not only help us in combat, but sometimes we'll need to sneak past an encounter. This will leave them without us, of course. However, if the party can manage to get out of that encounter, then most enemies will probably think that we left with them, allowing us to do what we do best even more. At 6th, it's time for Anticipate Ambush. Since we're so good at sneaking around, it only makes sense for us to be able to anticipate ambushes. So if we're anticipating an ambush at the start of an encounter, then we roll Perception for initiative, and any enemies that are rolling Stealth for initiative take a -2 penalty on those checks. Then on the free archetype side, we'll take Sound Mirror. We can cast Silence and Ventriloquism as innate occult spells both once per day. We can also cast Ghost Sound as an innate occult cantrip. We become trained in occult spell attack rolls and DCs, and our spellcasting ability modifier for these is Charisma. Silence is great for when we need to sneak into a place, but it's even better for when the entire party needs to. Especially for that champion that isn't exactly good at stealth. And Ventriloquism and Ghost Sound are great for when you need to lure an enemy away from a location. At level 7, we get a general feat. An Expeditious Search will really help this build. Remember, we're trying to sneak in, gather information, and then get out. So being able to search an area in half the time is amazing. And it gets even better when we're legendary in perception and we can do it 4 times as quickly. At level 8, we'll start with Predictive Purchase. So we gain Prescient Planner and Prescient Consumable as bonus general feats. In addition, when we use Prescient Planner, we can do so as a 2-action activity instead of spending 1 minute. Sometimes while we're sneaking around, we're going to need certain items. So rather than having to have all those items on our person all the time, now we can pull out what we need at any time, as long as we have the gold for it and we aren't encumbered. And then we'll take the Scout Dedication. We gain the Scout's Warning Ranger feat, allowing us to give all of our allies a +1 bonus to their initiative if we're rolling Perception or Survival for initiative. In addition, when we use the Scout Exploration activity, we give our allies a +2 bonus to their initiative instead of a +1. When we're not trying to gather information about a place, we want to be scouting ahead. So this will help our allies when we know an encounter is coming up. At level 9, we get an Ancestry feat, and we're going to go with No Evidence. So when we avoid notice, we also gain the effects of the Cover Tracks activity. As the name suggests, this is so we don't leave any evidence behind that we were ever there. This means if the party does have to attack an area, then the enemies will be surprised, especially if the party can sneak in. Okay, at level 10, we'll take Precise Debilitations. We will need to fight sometimes, so we do need this. When we use Debilitating Strike, we can either add 2d6 precision damage to the damage we deal, or we can make the foe flat-footed to everyone, rather than just us. Then we'll pick up Scout's Pounce. For 2 actions, if we are hidden or undetected from all enemies, and we aren't within 10 feet of any enemy, then we can stride and then make 2 strikes. If you were hidden or unnoticed by the target of these strikes, then the target is flat-footed against both attacks. Multiple attack penalty applies normally. Another combat feat, But there really isn't any other feat we can take to make us better at what we're trying to do at this level. Plus, we need these type of feats for those situations where we get caught and we can't talk our way out of the situation. This time, I think I'm going to save the teamwork report for the very end of this video. The strategy for this build is pretty much the same no matter what level you are, so I might as well save it for the end. So if you're interested in that, stay for the whole video. Anyway, the general feat at level 11 is going to be Die Hard. Dying 5 instead of dying 4. Pretty basic. Then at level 12, we're going to start with Camouflage. So now, if we're in natural terrain, we can hide and sneak without cover or being concealed. Then we'll pick up Fleeting Shadow. Now for 2 actions, we can hide and then sneak twice. This will not only help us in combat, but it'll also allow us to sneak away from combat if we need to. Alright, level 13 we pick up an Ancestry feat. And we're going to pick up In-Spirit Hazard, because there's nothing better than distracting enemies with their own trap while you go sneak around and gather information. So once in the next 10 minutes, if you observe someone that would trigger a trap if you hadn't disabled it, then you can immediately trigger the trap. At level 14, our first class feat is going to be Sense the Unseen. So, when you fail a check to seek, you can use your reaction to automatically sense undetected creatures, making them merely hidden from you. Then we'll take the last feat from our alter ego archetype, Borrow Memories. We can cast Mind Probe as an innate occult spell once per day. We'll use our class DC for this spell. In addition, if we cast Mind Probe on a target that we are studying to assume their role, and the target fails their save, we can delay the effects of the spell until we assume their role. When we do so, we can sustain it up to 10 times during its duration. We can ask a question each time we sustain it. However, the spell does not need to be sustained every round, only when we ask a question. The spell lasts until we ask all 10 questions, or we stop assuming their role. Also, we do not need to be in range of the target, or have line of effect to the target to use this ability. At 15th, ability score increases and a general feat. For our ability score increases, we'll want to increase the same ones we did the last 2 times. Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. And for our general feat at this level, we're going to pick up Canny Acumen for our Fortitude saving throws. Then at level 16 is Perfect Distraction. For 1 action, we sneak while leaving a decoy behind. This acts like the spell Mislead, but we aren't invisible, we're just undetected. Anytime you concentrate on the spell, you can move the decoy to another location, whether or not you remain hidden throughout the duration. Once you use Perfect Distraction, you need 10 minutes in order to set up another decoy. Then we'll pick up Scout Speed. We gain a plus 10 foot status penalty to speed. When calculating travel speed, this increases to a plus 20 foot status bonus. At level 17, we get our last Ancestry feat. And we're going to pick up Elude Trouble. So when a foe misses us, we can stride up to our speed without triggering reactions. Then at level 18, we'll take Implausible Purchase. Now we can use Prescient Planner even if we've used it after purchasing goods. In addition, we can pull out an item for 1 action instead of the normal 2 actions. And up to 5 times per day, we can use Prescient Planner to pull out a consumable that is up to 6 levels lower than our level. This will be great for when we really need that invisibility potion. Then on the free archetype side, we'll take the Assassin Dedication. For level 20, we are going to need a feat that's only available under the Assassin Dedication. So that's why we're taking this. And of course, at level 19, we get our last general feat. And we're going to go with True Perception. We are legendary in perception, and we don't want to be the guy that misses something because, oh, it's behind an illusion. So having True Sight will definitely help us a lot. Then at level 20, for our ability score increases, we want to increase our... And then for our ability boosts at level 20, we want to increase our Strength, Dex, Constitution, and then pretty much any ability score will work for the last one, since we don't have any ability scores that are going to increase enough to up our modifier. And for our class feats, we're going to start with Hidden Paragon. So if we successfully use stealth to hide and become hidden from all our foes, or use stealth to sneak and become undetected by all our foes, then we can use a reaction to become invisible for 1 minute, even if we use a hostile action. Not even glitter dust, see invisibility, or similar effects can reveal you, although creatures can still seek you as normal. And our last feat for this build is going to be Assassinate. For 2 actions, if we've used Mark for Death on an enemy and are completely unnoticed by that enemy, then we can attempt to slay him. We make a strike, and if we hit, we deal 66 extra damage. They must make a basic Fortitude save against this damage against our class DC. If they critically fail, they die. This is an incapacitation effect. Once you use this on a creature, it is immune for 1 day. This is for those enemies that just won't leave so we can search a room, because that will be necessary sometimes. So we can assassinate them, hide the body, and then search the room. Alright, time for today's teamwork report. So for combat, it's pretty much basic rogue stuff. Hide, use sneak attack when you can, frighten enemies when you can so you can sneak attack them, get flanking when you can, basic stuff. But where this build really excels is infiltration. Assume someone's role, then gain information that way, or sneak in and eavesdrop on enemies. Pull out whatever you need, even if you haven't purchased it. Such as, say, that invisibility potion that you need, or that ladder you need in order to see what's going on the top floor, or that rope you need to tie up an enemy so they don't go blabbing that you're a spy. And that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page if you want access to the Discord server and Google Sheets for this and other builds. So until next time, teamwork is vital.